Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Techopolis 3. Today we'll go over changes I did to the automation for basic Technium. As you can see behind me there, I'm on 4 grout miners now. So in the initial setup, black brick and the Urstaz leather were the 2 hang-ups, and they were neck and neck with each other, but I had this big field behind me there that I could harvest every once in a while to start the stats, but the black bricks was always hanging behind because of the limited grout. So we just doubled this, so now every 20 seconds we're getting 1 full black brick because it takes 4 grout to make it. And then I did get a fixed speed upgrade 3 along with no seeds upgrade, so because every once in a while seeds would be producing here, and instead of getting the pipe with the filter on it for all of these hookups, I just decided to go with hoppers and no seeds upgrades, but probably should change this to 2 fixed speed upgrade 3. I don't know that I can put multiple into one machine. We might as well try that live here now and see if that works. Yeah, so that would bring it down by, because this is 300 ticks and it starts at 1200. So you can see with none in there it's 1200, so each of these bring it down by 300, so that'll bring it to 25%. I would just need to do this setup here with the whitelist for the industrial hemp. That does mean that the machine would get clogged up with seeds at some point, which is the original reason I went with the no seeds upgrade, so I wouldn't have to babysit this, but it still does require quite a bit of babysitting no matter what, because the Urstaz leather is so slow. So the next thing to do, I guess, would be to double the amount of cloches I have up here to 6 and see how that performs, but this is still like, leather is definitely the deciding factor in everything there, even with like hand feeding it some industrial hemp every once in a while. But we've got 11 more in there, plus a stack plus 8 hanging out in my storage, so I've got a good amount for now. What we'll do with this episode is just talk about the entire advanced Technium line, and we'll just go over basic tips and tricks in here for all of the stuff and things. So starts off, we did all this here at the beginning of the last episode to get our copper focus going. And then basically, following along all of these quest lines, it's pretty cut and dry, not much to it. In the skyblock or super flat worlds, you're definitely going to want to get the dye certificate. Where is it? Dye base blueprint. So this takes 16 dye, which you can just use bone meal and make white dye for that, plus 8 basic research gets you that. And then you put this into the basic research crafter along with some clay balls, and you get this dye base, which you can use to make all of the colored dyes that you need to make all of these focuses, because all of these focuses require different stained glasses, right? And there's 3, 6, and then there's more here in the deep slate section. There's 9 total, so you need a good amount of dye. In the overworld, it might be a little bit easier. Hexlands would probably be pretty easy to get all of those different colored dyes without too much work. But in the other types, they're a little bit trickier to get those. So yeah, so that's the trick I have for getting all of these focuses going, and then the setup for getting like the different pieces here. So I have 1 water purifier supplied with 1 ambient water collector, was pretty much able to keep up with 3 rock enrichers. So we just have that set up. I have an overflow into the fluid tank, so we got quite a bit, you know, because it's not running all the time. I didn't hook this up fully automatically, but you're definitely going to need lots and lots and lots of granite, because this is what gets you your iron, and you have to turn your iron into steel, and you also need a fair amount of iron to do all of the immersive engineering stuff in this section. So definitely always keep your iron flowing. Even you probably better off setting up this to be fully automated itself rather than partially automated the way I have it here, where I've got to grab my stone out of here. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention, you're definitely going to want a clay miner and another stone miner going so that you've got access to these resources. You don't need tons and tons of clay, but you do need a fair amount. I should probably start this up again because clay leads to one of your main ingredients for advanced Technium. So yeah, we've got the 3 rock enrichers. They're leading into the 3 rock washers with the focuses in them. And then that gives us our aluminum, iron, and tin pieces. And then for the deep slate section, I didn't make another setup of the 3 to get the lead, nickel, and silver, but I just kind of, you know, hijacked these ones and I swap in the appropriate foci when I need to make. So if I needed to make more lead, then I would swap out the tin into lead. Don't need a lot of tin. Tin's probably the only one you don't need to fully automate. If you just do a good batch, that would probably last me, you know, 10 to 15 hours, right, with this much tin right here, because you only need 1 tin for every 3 pieces of bronze that you make, or 4. I think it's 4 pieces of bronze. And then, of course, we could also set up a compactor on each one of these so that these pieces are getting turned into the ores, so that I don't have to do that by hand, but I was lazy and just didn't bother doing it. So if you've got the resources, absolutely go for it. All right, and then the setup for the oil generator. Actually, no, we're gonna go to the alloy it section here first, because this is the immersive engineering stuff. So all this is pretty straightforward. I definitely went with the 3 water wheel setup rather than doing a windmill setup. Just because doing a windmill setup, you'd use up a whole bunch of industrial hemp to make the sails to make the windmill worth it. But, you know, the amount of power you get for the kinetic dynamo that you have to craft for it, it's not really worth it. Whereas you can put 3 water wheels into one setup. And just this has been an ongoing thing since the beginning of immersive engineering, and it's all over the internet. You just have to Google immersive engineering water wheel and look at the images there, and it'll show you how you should set up all of your water sources. You know, just a basic setup even is good enough. That'll get you up to 80, I think, but if you properly place 6 separate water sources for each water wheel, you can get up to 88 from the 3 water wheels put together. So you can squeeze a little bit out of it with that kind of a knowledge base there. And then with the blast furnace, I definitely made 2. Had both of these rocking quite constantly for most of the time. You can use charcoal in here. You don't have to have the coal coke. Coal coke is a lot better fuel, but you don't have to make it if you don't want to go through that. But I did for a while. And also with the alloy kiln, this little hand one is okay, but there is an automated one as well that... does it tell us about it in here? Maybe at the end? No, but you do need the automated one, which is a 3x3x3 and also takes up some of these scaffoldings. So this is the alloy kiln that we need to make the molten obsidian that is required in the advanced Technium machine. So obviously we need a cobblestone melter, an ambient water collector. So you'll need fluid inputs on this. You'll need a advanced item input to put this blueprint in. Otherwise it won't mix the liquids. So you do require this blueprint, which is 32 basic research and 4 bronze blocks. And then obviously you'll need the fluid output to output the molten obsidian and a fluid input on your advanced Technium machine to be able to produce advanced Technium when you eventually get there. All right, what else to talk about in this section here? Because this is built out of dirt, you really can't see where I've got all the water sources. But basically I have one water source here flowing this way. Then I have one water source at the bottom here flowing this way. Then it goes down one, and I have another water source on this block at the end pushing this way. And then over here there is one water source here pushing this way, and one water source down one. So on this block here pushing this way. So that's the 6 water sources in the wheel setup. And then the way I've done it, I've just ran the kinetic dynamo with one wire connector to a wire relay. And then from the relay we can split it into all the different directions that we need to go. But just note that the first thing that we're going to be using the power for, the crusher, this single setup here, doesn't do very much. Like you'll get through maybe 20 cobbles or deep slate before it runs out of power, and then it's kind of like chugging along at a very slow pace. So you definitely need a second source of power, which is where we come into the canola in the deep slate section here. So when we get down to the end and you get the silver, lead, and nickel that you need to make the oil generator, fermenting barrel, and canola press, then we can make this one, which is a pretty good power source at this stage, and really takes like quite minimal setup to power it. Like I have one cloche with no speed upgrade, no seeds, and a main output upgrade. I don't even think we need the main output upgrade, to be honest with you, on this one. And you know, this is like completely fully backed up, as we can see, right? And this, you know, it's been running a couple of hours, but not that long, to be honest. And we definitely always want to be running our oil generator on the refined canola oil. You can run it on the regular canola oil, but going through... Wait, why do I have refined in this hopper? That's wrong. Why can't I pull the refined canola oil out of there? Okay, so my system's backed up some weird way, but I'll just void it because it's not super necessary. There we go. Get that restarted again. Maybe this fermenting barrel is just pushing into any available inventory. That's my only thought on that, but at any rate, this really isn't running all the time. Okay, so then we'll go to the advanced Technium thing. This is where some of the magic happens. So, atomic reconstructor. This is the one thing that I had a lot of trouble figuring out how to do the automation on it. I went to the Discord and found a decent automation, so I have to get that set up yet, but just for handcrafting, I've always used the pressure plate here. So if you've got a whole bunch of, and I definitely want to do things in block form, especially when you're doing void stone, because the void crystals are made with coal, and it's 8 coal to a block, but one void crystal block requires 9. So you can actually get more bang for your buck if you use coal blocks on the void crystal blocks. With the palace and the Inori, it's tit for tat. It doesn't matter which way you do it, but it's, you know, it's faster just to do blocks at a time if you've got them. But what you want to do is just line yourself up and then control Q to shoot out your entire stack at one time, because if you just do one at a time, you got to wait for that pressure plate to unclick before you can process the next one. And usually when that shoots it pops right back into your inventory after it transforms, because it's technically a different block. Otherwise, you know, you've got that delay timer before you can pick up something that you've thrown out of your inventory. But for handcrafting, this is good. And for automated crafting, we'll have a different setup, and when I get that fully set up, we'll go over it when we do the automation episode for the advanced Technium. In the alloy it section down here with the metal press, it doesn't give you the handy multi-block placer like it does for the crusher. So basically you need 2 steel scaffolding, 2 conveyor belts, 1 heavy engineering block, 1 redstone engineering block, and 1 piston. So the 2 steel scaffoldings go there, the heavy engineering goes on the top, the redstone engineering goes on the bottom middle, then the piston needs to go here and it has to face downwards. And then I'll show you, I guess we may as well tear this apart for just a quick second. So I'll take off one of these scaffolds. So 2 scaffoldings, redstone engineering, and then the trickiest thing to place is the piston block. Because if you just put it here and go like that, it's going to place sideways. And then no matter how much you try to spin it, it never goes facing downwards. So what you do have to do is dig yourself a hole beside it, and then you can properly face upwards like this to place it so that it's pointing downwards, because it won't form any other way. And then you click the piston with your engineer's hammer and it will form the multi-block. Then you just have to make sure whatever mold you want in there goes like that. You can feed it with a hopper. I think the pipes work too. I just have never tried it. Just always use a hopper. And then you can attach a chest or another inventory right on the end, and you don't need a hopper on the output side. I guess, yeah, we could also look at placing down the conveyors. Just make sure they're both pointing the same way, whichever way you want them to go, right? So you point at the quadrant, see how there's a line, an X through there? So you just point in which quadrant you want to the thing to flow. But then other than that, the crusher multi-block, you just build this placer, and then that will, oh, I guess I should have this guy here. This will show you how it's all put together. If you don't know what these blocks exactly are, you can always click on this and try to place the structure, and you'll get a whole bunch of error messages. And if you can wrap your head around the parsing in here, so you can see that it needs light engineering blocks, it needs sheet metal, steel sheet metals, it needs steel scaffolding, it needs where was it? I thought I saw there's 9 hoppers that you need, so on and so forth. But you know, you can kind of see the 9 hoppers are up there. There's a redstone engineering block. There's 10 of these light engineering blocks, 8 of these steel sheet metals, and 10 steel scaffoldings that you need to put this guy together. and then you can just, you know, use the multi-block placer to put it down anywhere. And just note that the power goes on the side with the 6 light engineering blocks. So the power would go in on this block here is where the power would go in, and then the output actually comes out on exactly where this multi-block placer is. So that's where you'll put your chest for the outputs, like I have on this guy over here. So the output chest goes there, and then to put stuff in, you could put a hopper down on there if you wanted to feed it automatically. And obviously, I don't know if you can pipe into the side of it. I think it has to go pointing in the top, but otherwise you just throw things into the top of the machine like that. And if it can be crushed, then the crusher will start up and start crushing. All right, what other tips do I have for you here? The advanced Technium machine was a little bit tricky. It's a little bit bigger multi-block than the basic Technium machine. You need these copper coil blocks, you need steel scaffolding, you need light engineering blocks, you need one heavy engineering block, and of course a whole bunch of these wooden scaffoldings. And then there's these ones up here, which when I was looking at the preview with my blueprint, I thought these were just the tanks, the strainer tanks, but these are different. These are structural glass from Mechanism, so those take like 1 steel for each piece of this structural glass you want to make. So you do need 16 steel for that. You need a bunch of steel for this scaffolding. I guess, yeah, for the steel scaffolding, where's the regular steel scaffolding? These steel rods do not do this recipe. This recipe is 3 steel to make 1 steel rod, whereas if you just have a rod mold, it only takes 1 steel ingot's worth of steel to make it. So you either do it in a solidifier, or if you've got your metal press set up, you can do it in there, and it's a 1-to-1 as well. Just don't do this one, because you'll chew through a whole bunch of steel that you don't need to. And then, yeah, as I said before, the advanced Technium machine needs a fluid input. Obviously, a simple output is enough because there's only one kind of output coming in, and still like the regular advanced item input is good enough. But we will need the item batcher because we're still in that stage where the modular machinery will void additional materials that are in the input if it doesn't exactly meet the recipe requirements, which we talked about in the episode 2. I think that's everything that I have to talk about in ways of tips and tricks. The freezer, because the snowballs only stack to 16 when you put your clay in there, you definitely want to have a setup to process that through. Otherwise, you'll end up with only 16 at a time, which is only like 4 snow blocks at a time. So, yeah, when you're processing your clay in there, definitely need some hopper systems set up for the freezer. There is one other power solution that they don't talk about anywhere in here, and that is a thermoelectric generator. So the recipe for this is you'll need a copper coil block, 3 steel ingots, and then 5 Constantan plates. Constantan is made... So in the alloy kiln, 1 copper and 1 nickel gives you 2 Constantan. Don't look at this recipe for all the ores Constantan, that telling you it gives you 4. It doesn't. It only gives you 2 for each of them because you're making the immersive engineering Constantan, not all the ores one. So just note that there. But this power generator works by, you put it down on the ground, and then you need a hot source on one side of it and a cold source on the other. And obviously you can do like a hot source here and a hot source there, and then a cold source here and a cold source there. And that will give you two different inputs. And those temperature differentials is what generates the power for the thermoelectric. So you don't need actually any input for it other than actually making the what am I thinking of? The lava and or ice. So definitely this is the way you want to do it. You want to set it into the ground, and then you've got lava, lava, ice, ice. Or if you're so inclined, you could probably make blue ice if you wanted to make that much ice. If you wanted to be able to move this around, definitely need to do blue ice. But if you're just going to be putting these down, and you can do a battery of these, like just the way to do a battery of them would be you put one here, then one here, and then one here, and then that way when you put down your hot source there, that shares a hot source with this thermoelectric and this thermoelectric. So you basically have hot source here, cold source here, cold source here, and then you'd have to dig out these other twos just to maximize them. And then, you know, you'll still need to put a connector on each one of these and then run it up through at a relay, just like in this setup here. So this is it's a more portable, and it's more importantly a free power source that you don't have to worry about feeding any resources to, like the oil generator. I don't know about the power production of the thermoelectrics in 121. Back in 112, these were always the way to go. But I don't know about if they've balanced that any since 2016 or 2017, whenever I was playing heavily with a lot of immersive engineering. But yeah, other than that, I've got everything pretty much set up the way I want here. Oh, so the advanced Technium, we've got the molten obsidian set up already, so that I've got automated. We just have to figure out a way, so we need our crusher to supply deep slate to both the advanced Technium and to produce the nickel, the lead, because lead goes to lapis, which goes to Pallas. So we'll need that to go there, and then to silver as well. So we'll definitely need a couple of stone miners feeding our crusher to be able to supply all of our needs for that the deep slate has to cover off on. And then obviously that's the same stone generators can make the aluminum that we need, and the tin for the bronze, and then a separate source for copper to make the copper to go into. We could probably do one of these automated ones, but that would take a fuel input. Well, one way or the other, we'll have to have a kiln for making the bronze in this setup. The second biggest pain in the butt is going to be the redstone, because you're going to need a sand miner feeding into a blast furnace, feeding into a blast furnace, feeding into a regular oven, or regular furnace, or a blast furnace works as well, to change the redstone ore pieces into the redstone dust properly, right? Because oh wait, no, it's not. So it's a blast furnace into a rock washer into a furnace or a blast furnace, one or the other, to be able to produce your redstone. So it's a little bit of a setup, but it's nowhere near as much of a setup as we're going to need to be able to do the palace, because we're going to need the lead turning into lapis through a reconstructor, then that lapis through another reconstructor to get our palace. And the recipe requires 16 of each, so you're definitely going to need lots and lots of lead pumping through this system. So tons and tons of crushed deep slate's going to need to be going through there. But I've got some time on my hands. Well, not some time on my hands, but some work to cut out for me to be able to automate all of that. But I guess with all of that yapping, I have got to that 30-minute time limit that I wanted to reach. So that's it for this episode. Oh, I guess the other tip and trick that I had was the engineer's workbench. This cuts down on the amount of materials needed to make these components to make your light and heavy engineering blocks by half. So it's definitely worth making because you do need a fair amount of those blocks. So, you definitely cut down on the iron and the steel that you need to be able to make these components to make those blocks. The trickiest part is the paper. For me, it was a little bit tricky because if you've got the catalog and you're accepting all of your quests with the money, you can just buy sugarcane and get your paper that way. But if you're doing it like me and you're not accepting the quest, you'll need this drying table. So you put the drying table in the water, you turn logs into log sheets in the soaking table, and then those log sheets, you take your drying table out of the water, or your soaking table out of the water, it becomes a drying table, and you turn the soaked log sheets turn into paper. Right? And then the soaked paper is made by putting the log sheets in the soaking table, and the log sheets themselves are 4 log sheets make you 4 logs make you 6 log sheets. Hope that all made sense. But if you're looking for a way to make paper without buying anything from the shop, or if you've already spent all your money on other handy stuff, that's the way you would make paper otherwise. Anyways, that is it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed. And then, the next one might be a couple of days away as I set up all of the automation for the advanced Technium, because I definitely want to keep things automated as we go along, because I don't want to get in a position where I can't advance anymore because I haven't been automatically producing all of the materials. Anyways, I appreciate you all. As always, we will see you in the next one. Bye!